it takes me a long time to finish, these type of games because you're very busy in life, and that's why it's taken a while for this video to get made, because I just wanted to savor this game. I didn't want to rush the story. I didn't want to be like, skip all the side missions, let's not do any of that, let's just get the story over and done with so I can just do a review. Nah, I wanted to make sure that I save this thing up and just take it all in, just take this sweet goodness in. And I have to say, this game is truly spectacular, or amazing, or superior, or any other word that is used in association with Spider-Man. Just put any of them in there. But yeah, this game is quite good. Now, well, I'm just gonna I have very little negatives, to be honest, with this game, and now that I'm reviewing it, I'll just, talk about, well, to get the basics over with, okay, because everyone's talking about the web swinging. It makes you feel like Spider-Man and, the combat. So the combat is very much Arkham-like, so there's not much to get into there. It's it's what you expect, it's good, it feels good, there's some upgrades, it's what you expect, right? The web swinging is amazing. Okay, it just goes to buildings, it feels very good, there's a lot of momentum behind your swings. Again, you've heard these all in a bunch of other reviews, so I'm not going to waste your time by getting too much into it, because there are other people who can describe the web swinging better than I can, but the point is it just feels good, okay? And, as famously quoted, it makes you feel like Spider-Man. So yeah, I, like the web swinging, I like the combat. However, what I do not like, well, I wouldn't say do not like, it's just I kind of have a problem with these elements of the game, is the quick time events. Is just, they're too easy. Come on, I require more challenging quick time events. I'm more used to the God of War type of quick time events where they're fast, they're exciting. But here, it's just you'll see the button prompt and it takes 5 seconds for you to be able to press it. It's like baby steps. Come on, just let me do it. I want it to be fast and aggressive. It's too easy, okay? It's the quick time events are too easy. I need them to be more exciting, okay? Because then if you're just making the quick time events easy, if you're gonna have quick time events actually, because I wouldn't bother if the quick time events got removed, but if you're going to have them and you want things to be cinematic while still giving us some control, then you gotta make them just more challenging, just more fun. And the puzzles, they're there for, of course, the pacing stuff, to add variety, all that stuff, and, they're not too bad, actually. You get used to them, they're kind of they can be kind of like a fun distraction from all this web swinging, the combat you'll be doing. But again, make it more challenging, that's my request. I don't mind the puzzles, I think they're a good addition, but they just need more, revamping, just add more variety in the puzzles, because you have 2 types of puzzles, and it's just, they just cycle through both of them. It's come on, give us more types of puzzles, that's what I want. And another element that needs developing, I feel, are the boss fights, okay? Because, it's just a lot of the same stuff. There are some boss encounters I like ones where you're chasing down some bosses down the streets, or double team efforts, but the ones Mr. Negative boss fights, they just stink. Okay, it's just, dodge, okay, swing over here. It's oh my god, those type of bosses were just terrible. They just really needed more, in them. And speaking of Mr. Negative, we'll go a bit on the writing on the story, right? So, I feel the demons in Mr. Negative, they get repeated a lot throughout the game, because for a long time they're going to be the only types of enemies you'll be fighting, and Mr. Negative will be kind of the front, boss, the front villain that you'll be, expecting, okay, this is the big bad of the game for the majority. So you have to be dealing with a lot of those, characters, and it just gets kind of sickening after a while. I'm just I'd like something a bit different. So I feel those dudes, the demons, maybe explain them more. I don't know. It just, I feel where the hell did Mr. Negative get all these guys? I don't know. I like some things to be explained like that, but I feel Mr. Negative himself, I'm kind of getting into spoilers now, but yeah, I guess spoiler warning. But yeah, Mr. Negative, he doesn't really have a real conclusion, right? You see him just turn to his normal self, so he's not corrupted anymore. And then he just gets knocked out, and then we never see him go to prison, or if his sentence is, lessened or something, or if he's actually truly back to normal. What the hell happened with that? We got a conclusion to, of course, the main villain, which again, you'll know it's going to be Dr. Octopus. Immediately when, you know, Dr. Octopus is just, like, in the game, they're like, okay, they're obviously going to use him, so he's obviously the main villain. There's no surprise there. And he, you know, he gets conclusion, but Mr. Negative doesn't get any conclusion. That just felt really weird to me. I'm not sure about that, but there's other elements of the story I really liked, like Aunt May, okay? They actually killed her off, which, honestly, is something I've wanted in the comics for a really long time, like, especially in that Spider-Man One More Day storyline, where it involves, like, the threat of Aunt May's death. I mean, like, okay, dudes, look, Aunt May is really old. Okay, she's gonna have to die at some point, and I mean, why is she still alive in the comics? My god, actually, I don't know if she's alive right now, I haven't caught up with the Spider-Man comics in a while, but my god, has she been alive for a really long time? And the comic writers, they just keep on being like, ooh, Aunt May, she could die, oh wait, no, she's not dead. And that's my problem with comic books, is they just do not take a lot of risks. You know, even if they do kill a character, they're just going to reverse that. However, with this Spider-Man game, they did take risks, and Aunt May's dead, and it was just a really just well done choice on the creators. So Insomniac Games, you get an applause from me. But speaking of the villains, right, Dr. Octopus, he was just done really well. Now, of course, everyone knows Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2, so the mainstream eyes are going to be comparing this Dr. Octopus to the Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2, and they're still different, but there's a lot that's, you know, kind of the same. You know, they started out good, their minds got altered, they're bad, but still, you know, what was lying there pretty much just gets amplified. And yeah, I honestly, I think I prefer this Dr. Octopus in this game than the one in Spider-Man 2. I think this one is really well developed, and of course in a video game you do spend more time, you know, with Dr. Octopus, because you're with him, like, he's just Dr. Octavius at the beginning, so you spend a lot of time with him, and you're hoping, oh, I hope he doesn't change into Dr. Octopus, but of course he does, so there's that change. And I feel like they really outdid themselves in the writing department for the characters in this game, and how just, like, this story is a Spider-Man story, straight from the comic book into the video game, and it just fits so well, because you have the movies, right? You know, they're never going to be 100% like the comic book, but this game, it feels like an exact comic book, and this helps, of course, Dan Slott being the writer, who also writes a lot of Spider-Man stories. But yeah, and also Dan Slott really loves Dr. Octopus, as you may know from the Superior Spider-Man storyline, so yeah, of course he's going to use him here, but yeah, it really feels like, you know, this is a Spider-Man storyline. You got the villains in it and everything, you got the Sinister Six, you got some stuff like just the dialogue, like Spider-Man's quips, like you got the entire Spider-Cop thing going on, which is pretty funny. You got J. Jonah Jameson's, you know, entire podcast, which was just hilarious. It's like, my god, I don't even know why anyone would, like, unsubscribe from that podcast. Like, oh, it annoys me, but there's that option if it does annoy you. But honestly, it was just the highlight, like the entire sound department of the game. When you're swinging through, there's always, like, it's never just empty sound, it's never just boring, there's always something. You either got the amazing score that builds up whenever you're web swinging, or climbing up walls, or you got the funny J. Jonah Jameson's podcast going on, saying Spider-Man's a menace. You got all those great elements in the story, in the writing department. And also, a gameplay design I really liked was the suits, right? They got all these suits, well, they also gave them special modifiers, and you can even swap them around with other suits, so the suit actually has a benefit. There are some suits that are, you know, kind of fun collecting, like, oh, you get all the backpacks, you get this homemade homecoming suit, you know, you do all this side missions, you get this suit 100%, complete the game, you get this underwear suit, but also there's other ones which you just purchase with, you know, tokens, and they all had their different modifiers, or at least most of them do, and some of them look really awesome. Two particular favourites of mine is going to be like that Spirit Spider one, which looks like Ghost Rider. Right, that suit was just wild. It's a fucking flaming skull, right? And it is just, oh my god, that suit, it looks really odd in cutscenes, I'll say that. Then you got the classic Spider-Man suit, which is cel-shaded, the vintage one. That one is awesome. That is like one I wore for like a lot of the last portion of the game when I first unlocked, because when I unlocked it I was like, okay, I'm wearing this. So I wore that through pretty much the entire end portion of the game when I actually unlocked it, so I saw that in the cutscenes. And yeah, those are my two favourite suits I wore, you know, I wore Endgame. There's other great ones, of course. You got the Homecoming suit, you got 2099, the Noir suit, you know, all the stuff that you expect. But the Insomniac Spider-Man suit is also awesome with the white logo, of course. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is the parts where you're not playing as Spider-Man. like when you're Mary Jane or you're Miles Morales. I have to say those parts are, there are some good parts in them. I like the part where you're Miles and you see like Scorpion and Rhino and you have to like run away from them. That's awesome. I like the part where you're Mary Jane and you're like, you know, you're sneaking through and you tell Spider-Man to like take down some demons. That's really cool. The rest, my god, what were they thinking? The AI is so terrible in the stealth sections. You can literally just run through most of it. And when they catch you, there's this thing where it's just like, oh no 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 no! It's like, it's hilarious. Like you trip over a box and goes, oh, what was that noise? And they come to you and get that like entire like cutscene thing. It is just, okay, they need to improve on those sections. I feel like the snippets that we've got, which are like the good parts, like, you know, Spider-Man sneaking through, you get to see like the perspective of Spider-Man's world just from an ordinary like human eyes, like Spider-Man taking people down or like the villains causing, you know, havoc. It's, you know, those parts are really cool, but the rest of it is just boring stealth stuff or just walking around. There are better ways for the story to be told. But yeah, they're not that big of a problem because they're very short, and there's like, you know, they're trying to do a thing with the pacing, but I feel like it's a good idea because, you know, we got 2 good missions out of it, but they just need to improve it, just like make them more fun. Like, actually, I wouldn't say there's only 2, there's a few good ones, I guess. Like the first Miles one was pretty good. It's just they need the better AI, and maybe with that it could be more fun, because I mean, once you figure out that you can just run through the missions, then they're just like, they end really short, so they need to be just better AI, make them more tense. But yeah, really love the story in this. It's very much a classic Spider-Man story. Loved the gameplay. And yeah, this game sold really well, so I'm guessing we're going to be getting more Spider-Man games. We'll be getting a sequel, and there's a DLC coming down the road. And honestly, you know what, I'm happy that there's games like these coming out, you know, single player games coming out this year, like God of War and Spider-Man. Because, I mean, we need games like these that don't treat the player like they're some kind of cash machine, okay? One thing that's concerning me is, you know, like games like Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely going to have microtransactions in there. I'm not sure if there's going to be microtransactions in the single player, but they did soon, like, they had said something in, like, the Ultimate Edition about some gameplay boosters. But multiplayer is definitely going to have microtransactions, and I'm so sick of that kind of just model, like, for games. Oh, treat the player like it's a cash machine, you know, microtransactions. You've got stuff like Call of Duty doing that. And, you know, it's just good to have a single player game that is complete, you know, and is there. And then we got, you know, additional content. So it's like, hey, I actually want to play the DLC because I like the game. I don't want to buy the DLC because I feel like I'm forced to, because it feels like it's locked content. Now this is additional content. The story in this game is already complete, and we're getting some additional story content. So there's already like, this is the point of DLC. It's meant to be additional, not like locked content. Okay, and that's, you know, what makes me really happy, because you got like Red Dead Redemption 2 has some concerning stuff for me. I'm excited for the game, but my god, is there some concerning stuff like pre-order bonuses for specific missions? That has me worried. But yeah, overall, I loved Spider-Man PS4, if you could not tell. And my rating of it would be a strong 9 out of 10. I have very little minor complaints. You know, I've already mentioned them in the video. I'm not even going to, you know, puzzles, QTEs, the walk-in sections where you Mary Jane, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just a fantastic game. And I'll be, I guess I'll 100% it now. So, that's been Magma Infinity signing out. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and share. Peace!